So in the midst of the whole event storylines where we got, say, Doomsday Clock, DC Rebirth Initiative going on with that, you got Heroes in Crisis, then um, you got the new Deceased storyline you got. Um, Now you basically are saying, hey, instead we have already had 3 event comics. We got more for next year. So what do we do with this? Oh, let's make another event comic, but not an event comic, an event storyline. So you see, here's the difference when I look at an event storyline versus an event comic. Linkara's event comic description is the best way to go with, where where the best writer and the best artist come together and create a big event up to at best 12 issues if the stakes are this big, and they would produce a limited series with some tie-ins that connect the whole thing, but in an ideal sense doesn't have major plot points and plot details. And if it does have that, in the collected version of it, it should come with it. Case in point, the Infinity comic I got, where it has both the Avengers and New Avengers stories that are essential to the Infinity event. And then you got event storylines. What I mean by that is that whereas it's not a limited series of comics, it's instead a series of comics telling this big story that would eventually connect with one another. The one that in particular was most infamous of was the DC comic New 52 initiative of Death of the Family, where the Joker cut off his face. That was a 32-issue series. I am not kidding. It featured all of the stuff from the DC Universe's Bat family. Jason Todd, Batgirl, Robin, the Teen Titans, Batman himself, Batman and Robin, Catwoman, all that sort of stuff. So now, with this thought, you have 3 event comics. One is an Elseworld story, basically, since it takes place on another Earth that's not the main DC universe, possibly the Dark Multiverse, considering the context of the series. And then you got these 2 DC event comics that are going to change the whole landscape of DC as a whole in the main universe, with Doomsday Clock and, sure enough, Heroes in Crisis, and I don't feel like talking about that following issue 8's disaster. And now you got the teams going ahead and saying, we need a 3rd event storyline going on. We need a 3rd event comic / storyline on board. So we got DC Year of the Villain, and this is the problem with this inherent thing. Now, I'm not talking about the context of the story, I'm talking about its time placement. You see, a whole bunch of storylines here theoretically most likely take place after Doomsday Clock. They can't do it before Doomsday Clock because of the circumstances surrounding Year of the Villain and how the premise is. So, yeah, you got this issue problem going on, and then you got Doomsday Clock that takes place a year after all the titles, but then they're slowly starting to catch up, but then also at the same time you got storylines that seem to hint that it's going after Doomsday Clock, even though there's no finale yet, which is an inherent flaw of everything. And I'm pretty sure this will no doubt cause more problems for the greater Doomsday Clock storyline, since this is supposed to be the end of the DC Initiative Rebirth issues. And then you got Heroes in Crisis already causing enough problems for Doomsday Clock because they had to fix certain stuff like Wally West's turn to a villain, aka character assassination attempt, in a way that was very mishandled and could have been better written if it had, no oversight trying to burn it to the ground because they want to demonize Wally. But enough about my thoughts on that. You'll get that thing. But right now they're labeling this as the most dangerous summer event. So this is clearly a blockbuster summer event. And it's not like this just came out of nowhere. No, they've been building this up. Like from Justice League No Justice, because apparently that broke the entire Source World universe. Then you got the Batman Who Laughs, or Dark Knight's Metal. You got the Justice League stories tying into this. You got Superman Action Comics and Superman the main series tying into this. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that were building up to this. Even that tie-in to Batman and the Flash regarding Heroes in Crisis. Yeah, while that was a tie-in to that, and considering how the context is, it makes no sense now that when you look at both Heroes in Crisis issue 7, and then look at The Price as the Batman Flash crossover. So you got that continuity hiccup, and then you got this storyline that, for the most part, has kind of done some stuff, but like, basically the villains are going to take center stage to this. And then you also got, like, Bane plotting his eventual takeover of Gotham. So, yeah. This series is divided... This 25-cent issue... Yeah, this is a 25-cent issue featuring, for a special one-shot, Year of the Villain, where it was basically going to be a one-issue, 25-cent giveaway, 32-page event to basically advertise what's going to happen, essentially. You got Doom, Chapter 1, as it's called, by Scott Snyder. You got Leviathan, written by Brian Michael Bendis. And you got Justice, written by James Tyrion IV. No idea who that is. And then at the end, you get an insider into what exactly the Year of the Villain stuff is going to be. The backstage pass to the biggest event of the year. Yeah, they're actually calling it that, and I'm just thinking to myself, I thought Doomsday Clock was the biggest event of their year. So, yeah. We start off at the White House, and sure enough, Amanda Blake Waller is really pissed off, as always, and heading up to meet up with the president about Lex Luthor, and sure enough, Lex Luthor has already occupied the White House and has kidnapped the president. Yeah, like, you got Cheetah, Gorilla Grodd, or some gorilla. You got Brainiac, who I thought was dead in No Justice, because Amanda Waller was the reason. I'm not kidding. And then you got Sinestro, and sure enough, Lex Luthor sitting in the desk saying, "Hello, Amanda. You were saying something about me?" Meanwhile, you got the members of the cabinet already unconscious, and the president probably stunned. And I'm just thinking, okay. I could make a joke about this, about how Luthor might have just cleaned up 60% of the Capitol Hill's corruption, but that's a different matter. And Amanda Waller, in this horrified state, realizing what had just happened, apparently it's figured out what Luthor is planning, and is trying to tell him that this is just saying that this will change everything. And yeah, Amanda Waller basically was needed to, be needed for this plan, and she just walked right into it. And then shortly after, we cut to Mr. Luthor, as he's called by Mercy. And yeah, they kind of freaked out that Luthor just openly committed a crime. And Luthor decides to cancel all his meetings for the rest of the week, fire everybody who works for him, and tell him to evacuate the building. The Mercy says, "You're finally going to do it, aren't you? You're going to murder Superman." Oh, please, Mercy. Yeah, please. Like, that was ever my plan. I'm like, it's not like I've done this for over nearly a century and trying to kill him and failed miserably. No. This is more complex plan. I'm basically trying to see if I can restart Infinite Crisis, but without the Infinite Crisis part. And yeah, he believes there are far bigger things than Superman, and sure enough, Lex Luthor is met by Brainiac in his office, and are worried about the whole. And Brainiac, of all people, is saying that that the people who were in his little attack on the United States government were like, Yeah, that was way in public, and that was really brazen, and now you are forever a villain to the world, and they are coming, and the government forces are already moving in unison. They'll be here in minutes, and this is where I start to say this takes place after Doomsday Clock, because please know, Brainiac says that he's forever a villain, and he publicly attacked the White House, and everyone, and there's witnesses, so that means one thing. This takes place after Doomsday Clock. This has to take place after Doomsday Clock. It's the only way to make any semblance of sense, but at the same time, it's not going to give all the full context narrative because they have to keep the ending to Doomsday Clock a secret, because if no one remembers what happened, because they can't bring it up because that will give away spoilers, but they can't bring certain characters in, like the Justice Society or Wally West, because that would give away endings to Heroes in Crisis and Doomsday Clock again. So really, this was the inherent flaw of why this story should have been delayed until after DC Comics had finished up Doomsday Clock, and why the inherent problem of Heroes in Crisis caused these delays most likely. So yeah, Luthor basically has liquefied all of his money, and the scope of his plan, and he gives him this file that has calculations, and Luthor says, run them, see how everyone will fall in line in from Metropolis to Central City all across the world. See how those who have grand plans of their own, like our friends in Gotham, are helping build to the same end. Sure enough, Luthor and Brainiac see every single hero and villain of the DC Universe. And if I'm correct, I'm looking at this, yeah, the White Rabbit character from Batman the Dark Knight. Yeah, there was an actual White Rabbit gimmick they were doing. I am surprised they brought that back. Then you got all the rest of the heroes and villains. Like you got the Batman Who Laughs, Black Adam, Harley Quinn, the Flash, not Wally West Flash. He's probably dead by now. Or, not brought up at all. But Brainiac is more shocked of that all the villains of the world, he's been studying them, he has a massive plan, and he's offered them something big. And Brainiac says, but for the plan to happen and for this to work, he must do something which involves death. I'll get to that in a sec. And Luthor calls him an old friend, saying, I know, old friend, but this is the right way forward. See, for the first time in my life, I believe in something bigger than myself. And it's beautiful. Now get the hell out of my office. This part I do alone. Brainiac says farewell Lex, and Captain Atom arrives saying, now listen here, Luthor, it's over. For I'm under orders to take you by any means necessary, and I will punish you and send you to the coroner. Understand, if you do not surrender right now, we will kill you. I am part of the Justice League. I've already tried to kill Dr. Manhattan, even though it should be against my code of ethics because I'm a superhero. But murder's alright if so long it's involving Superman. And Luthor just says, no, you won't kill me, Captain Atom, because I'll do it myself, and proceeds to explode with the rest of LexCorp, which means he gave his workers, who he doesn't even care about, to get the hell out. Then we cut to chapter 2. Yeah, these chapters are short. It's not like the 8-page graphic novel that was Justice League. That was DC Universe Rebirth one shot. But yeah, we cut to the next chapter event, Leviathan, and we see arrows are colliding, and sure enough, it's what I'm assuming to be Ra's al Ghul, and he's fighting both Green Arrow and Batgirl. Oh, wait, no, it's not Ra's al Ghul. I thought it was Merlin and... yeah, Batgirl and Green Arrow have teamed up. I don't know why. I'm just wondering why. And sure enough, they're telling them to basically tell this guy to stay down. And the guy's like, I'm going to make you two an offer. I know you're not going to take it, but how about you get in the helicopter with me and we all get the hell out of here immediately as if our lives all depended on it. On the way, I can explain how that actually is the case. Batgirl points out the obvious problem, saying, "Are you trying to bribe us with free helicopter rides?" Green Arrow is just like, "Where? Like Bermuda? We don't have time for this." He's terrified. It's really not about us. Insulting. Okay, tell us why you're running. You clearly have no idea. Yeah, what's going on? We're in the middle of a royal flush. What's a royal flush? It sounds ominous and antisocial. Good luck on there, Green Arrow. Good detective work. Barbara answers. The answer to the clues that led me all the way out here. Who called the flush? Who's taking out who? And the guy just says, "I'm not joking. We have to put our differences aside for the evening and get the out here or it's differences." Green Arrow just cuts him off. "The League of Assassins have been taken out. We're all being taken out. It's a royal flush. All the institutions and organizations are failing. It's time to go." And sure enough, Barbara's like, "You know what? You convinced me. Cover yourself and get in the helicopter." Green Arrow's just shocked and say, "Really?" And Barbara just says, "After all the chat I heard, we follow this." And sure enough, he just says, "Too late, Leviathan is here." And sure enough, the Leviathan arrives and immediately creates a massive explosion. Then we cut to nothing but darkness, causing Barbara to eventually be blinded by a light. And she's trying to know what's going on. And apparently the Leviathan is offering her a deal that she shouldn't refuse. Basically, he's offering a complete and total do-over. The world, her life, her place in it, and he bails onto this long speech about Barbara Gordon. "Barbara, as Batgirl or Oracle, you signed up for the Suicide Squad, the Justice League, Batman Incorporated, GCPD, Birds of Prey, Seven Soldiers of Victory even. Why? Because you want to change the world, so much so that you have gladly and heroically sacrificed everything. But after all that, I ask you, have you?" Barbara does not answer. "This world doesn't work. You know that now. An entire world full of beautiful people drowning in a completely broken global disaster, all for someone's profit. You superheroes will keep trying to save it by doing the same things over and over again. I am saying, look around. It doesn't work. So listen, we are not enemies. Why? Because we want the same thing. We have to save the world now, right now. Everyone acts like tomorrow's a guarantee. It's not. Join us, and I'll show you how we're going to do it. And together, we can rule the galaxy as Leviathan and Batgirl." And Barbara's never saying anything. She's just staring blankly at him. So, with this unreadable expression, and I'm just left wondering, is she really considering this offer? Because that would be kind of dumb. So yeah, it turns out that guy was Merlin, not Ra's al Ghul. I thought it was because of the hairdo. So yeah, Bruce is contacted by Oliver, and he explains how Barbara and her got some intel on Merlin, chasing out his entire empire, heading out of town. Wanted you to know, just in case Leviathan chatter related, he'll keep him posted. And yeah, Batman just talks to Damian and says, "Damian, good. I need you to take a trip. I want you to fly over to Seattle. Green Arrow might have and then Damian just says, you know how sometimes you get an idea in your head, a detective's theory, and you can't shake it until you can prove it wrong. And until then, the idea just keeps becoming more and more real. Damian, I need you to help me prove that this new Leviathan threat isn't the Red Hood of Gotham, your old buddy Jason Todd." Yeah, that actually happened. So now the Leviathan threat might be Jason Todd. I don't know about that. I'm like, last time I saw Jason Todd, he was probably suffocating on Mars at the hands of Dr. Manhattan, but who am I kidding? So yeah. Then we cut to space, where the Justice League is basically fighting on as they talk about what happened in Justice League No Justice and this whole, situation that's going on. And then we cut to Batman, Superman, basically doing everything he can to save as many lives as possible and stopping criminal scum without this multiverse. And yeah, basically they cut to a boardroom holodeck kind of thing. And yes, John Jones says this: "It took all of us together to save one civilization, one world on the peripheral. How many countless others will fall as the void grows? Too many. And the priest, he said something about, I don't know, about some female character and her great minion starting something. Wonder Woman responds, well, according to legend, whatever her name is the original mother of all things for creating the universe in her own villainous form. She was imprisoned in the Source World by her kind. Her great minion, it must be Luthor, she believes. He and the Legion of Doom have been trying to raise her. They've made inroads back on Earth. It's getting worse. We won't be able to communicate with us until we're closer to our own galaxy. What do you think he's done?" John Jones spoke. "Whatever it is, it's big. It'll involve everyone he can recruit. And even rock and roll. And I must put a stop to it myself, even if I must abandon my no-kill belief. Lock and load." And Superman then asks this question: "You think we need to grow the League too? Who do we call?" Batman just says, simple: "We call everyone." And then we go to war. And we cut to this big spread page of every single DC hero that's currently not dead from the hands of Heroes in Crisis and Doomsday Clock so far. So, yeah. Even though theoretically, 60% of that roster I'm seeing, they should all be dead because the Green Lanterns are out cold and Firestorm's Matrix should have went out by now, which means in theory they should be dead of suffocation on Mars at the hands of Dr. Manhattan. Unless they did an ending where they reversed history but left the New 52 DC Rebirth universe intact somehow. No idea. Yeah. So then the narration ends in this story with the whole talking about the mother of the multiverse and how she's feeling all the death of the entire reality and how reality's trembling and the screams and pain of everything going on. She feels the essence of this universe she helped create tip back in her favor toward doom. For doom will save you all, as it should be, as it was always meant to be. Luthor's sacrifice was the key. They all see now the villains would rise, the heroes would fall. A war of justice and doom would rip through reality, echoing backward and forward through all of space and time. But she could feel the echoes of that battle even now, even today. Yes. Some of the players she knows well. Some she does not. And sure enough, we see the Batman who laughs, laughing like a crazy psychopath, as he always is. But in the end, they would all evolve. They would all change. Just as her chosen son was changing, right at her feet. Yes, Lex Luthor, let yourself become what you always meant to be. Something beautiful. Yes, it would be so evil would rise. Everything would change. The year would be her year, their year, the year of the villain. The year of the villain begins now. And sure enough, this whole event storyline spreads out into Justice League issue 25, Event for the Leviathan, Batman 75, Batman Superman issue number 1. Let's see. And they would showcase all this backstage stuff. And reading more stuff here throughout the 4th of July, as they're calling it. Action Comics 1013, Aquaman 50, Batgirl 37, Batman 75, Batman the Outsiders number 3, Catwoman number 13, Deathstroke 45, Detective Comics 1008, The Flash number 75, Harley Quinn 63, Hawkman 14, Justice League 27, Justice League Dark 13, Nightwing 62, Red Hood 36, Supergirl 32, Superman 13, Teen Titans 32, The Terrifics 18, Wonder Woman 75. So that's the current plan there. And basically how there's all these talks about how this whole storyline is going to be the big impactful change. And they basically go ahead and show the seeds that build up to this, such as Justice League No Justice, Justice League 1 through 7, Justice League number 5, as the Seeds of Destruction. The Mother of Evil was Justice League 12, Justice League Annual number 1, Justice League 18, Justice League 17 and 18. Basically, there was a semi-reboot to the Justice League numbers. And then there was the Dark Designs, as they're calling it now. The Year of the Villain 25-cent special, which we're talking about. Justice League 25. And then July, we get all this huge stuff about the Year of the Villain, and so I've just explained the checklist. So yeah, that was the basically gigantic advertisement issue of the Year of the Villain storyline. Also, there's a preview to the Batman Last Night on Earth, but that's for the DC Black Label. But yeah, so now the DC Universe is going to war. It's the Year of the Villain, and everyone's feeling mighty pissed off. Probably. Personally, I did love the artwork regarding the end of the issue where they show all the heroes, and I did love the artwork during the first chapter, as it's called. It reminds me a bit of Clayman in some aspects. But the other one, I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. But yeah, I was just wondering about, this was about how I thought about in Tom King's Hero in Crisis. I don't get Barbara's design costume, specifically that there's no helm, there's no cowl over her. It's just a domino mask and some bat ears, and I was like, you're basically exposing yourself to the world. No one can be that stupid, look at you and say, you're not Barbara Gordon. The Leviathan figured it out, and he's been mostly dealing with Superman, it seems. So yeah, I just left wondering what happened. Why was this costume design a good idea again? I know it'd be stupid to talk about this, regarding how Clark Kent and Superman are clearly not one and the same, even though they clearly is. But I think they retcon that in the old DC universe, explaining it's a special Kryptonian technology that disguises him or something. Even though I don't think that's how that works. I could be wrong. So, yeah, and remember how I talked about the price and how this is was a tie-in to Heroes in Crisis? Yeah, at the end there's an epilogue saying in the near future, which is basically probably after Doomsday Clock, and it showcases how Batman doesn't seem to trust Barry Allen of all people because he's acting out of character, even though Batman should really think, oh wait, he lost Wally West, he was gunned down for what it seems, even though that's clearly not the case, and he's currently in this state of depression and doesn't know how to cope with it. But no. Clearly that means he's just acting suspicious and therefore he can't be trusted. It can't be because he's grieving and doesn't know how to process the fact that he just lost Wally twice, forgot his existence, and... Oh, I don't know. Realizing that Wally lost his mind and became a serial killer for the most stupidest reasons that make no sense. And yes, I know what the people are going to try and say. Well, he's supposed to not make sense. That's how mentally unstable people do. But this is a comic, and plus, Wally could fix this. He could just use Brewster's tech and go back and fix it and stop himself from losing control, or, you know, go back and use his super speed to get him far away from himself, from that crowd of people before he exploded. Oh wait, we can't do that because that would make too much sense. It would just immediately end the story and make it pointless. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about this special one shot alone because it basically feels like a gigantic advertisement. So really nothing can be said about this other than like there's a couple of some chapters building up to this eventual conflict, and we get this event storyline in his catalog, what stories will be a part of this and how it's all going to be connected and lead up to this ultimate finale. No idea where that finale is going to go, but I do get the feeling that, you know, Doomsday Clock and Heroes in Crisis will likely change the direction of this entire event storyline because of these two series that are very big in terms of the greater DC universe, with Heroes in Crisis is Wally West reveal, and DC Universe Rebirth bringing back the Justice Society most likely, or just bringing back a lot of the old canon elements. So yeah, those were my thoughts on DC Comics' Year of the Villain special one-shot. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. If you like, comment, subscribe, and donate, stay tuned for more.